Thomond was a kingdom of Gaelic Ireland, associated geographically with present-day County Clare and County Limerick, as well as parts of County Tipperary. The kingdom represented the core homeland of the Dalgai's people, and although they ruled, there were smaller groups of other Gaels in the area. It existed from the collapse of the Kingdom of Munster in 12th century as competition between the O'Brien and the MacCarthy led to the schism between Thomond and Desmond. It continued to exist outside of the Anglo-Norman controlled lordship of Ireland until the 16th century. The exact origin of Thomond, originally as an internal part of Munster, is debated. It is generally held that the Tuadhmhumhain pushed northwest starting from the 5th to the early 8th century, taking the area from the Uí Crachadna of the Connacht. Eventually, the Dalgai's rose to power in all of Munster, to the detriment of the Eoganachta. The person most famously associated with this is Brian Boruma, High King of Ireland, best known for his feats at the Battle of Clontarf, 4 generations down the line, and after providing 3 more High Kings. The Dalgai's were unable to hold on to all of Munster, and so Thomond came into being as a separate entity. For over 400 years, when much of Gaeldom fell or was greatly reduced, the kings of Thomond and the people of their realm resisted the Norman invasion of Ireland, winning several notable battles. They contended with the de Clare, Butler and Fitzgerald families among others, largely due to the King of England deciding to grant their realm to these Normans. A Gaelic resurgence following the Battle of Dusseath O'Dear saw the rise of men such as Brian Streamhack O'Brien and Tuadhmhumhain O'Brien, who earned Ireland-wide renown. Thomond only joined the Tudor Kingdom of Ireland in the 16th century, after being caught up in the Silken Thomas affair. Geography. County Clare was sometimes known as County Thomond in the period immediately after its creation from the district of Thomond. In 1841, an estimation of the extent of the kingdom was undertaken by John O'Donovan and Eugene Curry. The Principality of Thomond, generally called the country of the Dalgai's, comprised the entire of the present Co. of Clare, the parishes of Inniscarltra and Clonrush in the county of Galway, the entire of Ely Carroll, the baronies of Ikereen, Upper and Lower Ormond, Oney and Arra, and somewhat more than the western half of the barony of Clan William in the county of Tipperary, the baronies of Owenibug, Cooner and Clan William, and the eastern halves of the baronies of Small County and Coshley in the county of Limerick. History. Creation from Munster. The entire province of Munster was under the control of the O'Brien clan under the leadership of Tuadhmhumhain O'Brien and his son Muircheartaigh from 1072 to 1114. Their capital was located in Limerick. In a bid to secure the High Kingship of Ireland for the clan, Muircheartaigh encouraged ecclesiastical reform in 1111 with the creation of territorial dioceses over the entire island. They had support for their bid from several foreign connections including Magnus Beleg, the King of Norway, and the Norman Baron Arnulf of Montgomery in Wales, who were both united to the clan through marriage in 1102. Their claim to the High Kingship was countered by the O'Neill clan in Ulster under the leadership of Domhnall MacLachlan of Uilleach. Though Muircheartaigh campaigned hard in the north, he was unable to obtain the submission of Uilleach. When he fell ill in 1114 he was deposed by his brother Tuamhain. Muircheartaigh did briefly regain power, but after his death in 1119 his brother's sons took control of the clan. MacLachlan's plans to restore the High Kingship to the north was thwarted by his ally Tuadhmhumhain Conor of Connacht, who formed an alliance with the O'Briens. In 1118 Conor partitioned Munster between the sons of Tuamhain and Tuamhain. The northern section of the province became the O'Brien Kingdom of Thomond and the southern became the MacCarthy Kingdom of Desmond. Normans and civil wars from the 12th to the 14th centuries. The Norman invasion and the multiple attempts to take Thomond from the Gaels was the main challenge to the realm. The picture was complicated by rival branches of the O'Brien trying to ally with various different Normans to enforce their own line as reigning over Thomond. At the time of the Norman invasion of Ireland in 1169, Domhnall Mór O'Brien was king of Thomond. Domhnall was a man of realpolitik. His main concern was upholding his position in Thomond and was not against collaborating with Strongbow and others against rival Gaelic kingdoms such as Ossory, Desmond and Connacht. Domhnall even acknowledged Henry II as Lord of Ireland at Cashel in 1171, but a mere 2 years later when Plantagenet tried to grant Thomond to Philip de Braose, this situation was overturned. The Dalgais defeated a Norman army at the Battle of Thurles in 1174, where over 700 were killed. The following year, when Raymond le Gros captured Limerick through a naval invasion, Domhnall retook it and burned it, rather than have it in foreign hands. The 20 years after that for the Gaels of Thomond were more secure. After the death of Domhnall Mór, a period of destructive feuding among his offspring caused a great territorial decline in Thomond. The brothers Muirheartaigh Finn O'Brien and Conchobar Ruair O'Brien fought with each other, seeing Muirheartaigh's reign interrupted between 1198 to 1203. Muircheartaigh himself was blinded by the Normans in 1208 and was soon forced into abdication due to no longer being Reagdamna. Donchard Cairprec O'Brien had to deal with dissent from the Mac Con Mara and O'Cohen against his rule, so brought in the Lagans Mac Gormain as his standard-bearers. Donchard also enlisted the support of the de Burgh and other Normans in this fight, which came at a costly price. Limerick and lands surrounding it in what would later become County Limerick and County Tipperary. Under pressure from the Butlers, Thomond was now not too different to what would become County Clare, protected by the River Shannon. Donchard moved his capital to Clonroad. The Normans' advance continued during the reign of Conchobar na Tuadhmhumhain O'Brien, as Henry III granted lands to Robert de Musgregas and John Fitzgeoffrey. Of the two, de Musgregas was most active, constructing Clare Castle and Bunratty Castle with a colony. The precedent for Thomond was very dangerous, as, should much more land have been taken, the realm would have no longer existed. Conchobar and his fiery son Tuadhmhumhain O'Brien took up arms and slaughtered many of the Norman settler colonists in 1257. The following year, the Gaelic chiefs from all over Ireland had resolved to form an anti-Norman pact and met at Caelwysce, near Lough Erne to discuss terms. They planned to resurrect the High Kingship of Ireland, with most supporting Brian O'Ene Acute-Ill as the choice. Tuadhmhumhain was proud and stubborn, declaring his father should be High King. The Dalgais thus did not take part in the Battle of Drumdeag, which the Gaels lost, damaging the reputation of Thomond as a consequence. Brian Ruair O'Brien kept the pressure up by burning Clare Castle and forcing the de Musgregas to flee to Wales. But he had troubles from his own countrymen. The Mac Con Mara, O'Diahide and Mac Gormain clans supported his nephew Tuadhmhumhain O'Brien, a son of Tuadhmhumhain for the kingship instead, and revolted. Seeing an opportunity, Edward II offered Thomond to Thomas de Clare if he could take advantage of the O'Brien feud. The events which followed have passed down to history as the Cathraim that Healby. After Brian briefly regained Clonroad with de Clare's help, Tuadhmhumhain arrived with support from Galway in the form of the de Burghs and once again took control in 1277. Brian was executed by his ally at Bunratty, but de Clare was soon reconciled with his son Donchard Mac Brian O'Brien and supported him against Tuadhmhumhain. The feud continued until Donchard drowned at a party on Island Magrath, on the River Fergus. With Tuadhmhumhain now undisputed king, the Mac Con Mara were able to hound de Clare. The conflict between the two lines continued into the next generation between Donchard Mac Tuadhmhumhain O'Brien and Diarmid Clairech O'Brien. There was military success at Bunratty in 1311 for Diarmid, and his cousin Donchard was killed at Corcomroe. Following this, Clan Tadge's leader was Muirheartaigh mac Tuadhmhumhain O'Brien, and after Diarmid's sudden death, Clan Brian Rua's leader became Donchard mac Domhnall O'Brien. The Bruce Wars in Ireland added an unpredictable element and saw some surprising ad hoc alliances come into play. Donchard elected to support Edward the Bruce, which made his patron declare an enemy. Muirheartaigh, who now reigned supreme in Thomond, due to his connection to de Burgh, was nominally on the side of the Lordship of Ireland. The cousins fought at the Second Battle of Athenry. Muirheartaigh's brother Diarmid mac Tuadhmhumhain O'Brien managed to destroy Donchard and most of Clan Brian Rua's supporters at the Battle of Corcomroe in 1317. The end of the de Clares and Norman territorial claims in Thomond came the following year at the Battle of Dusseath O'Dear, due largely to Conchobar O'Dearhyde, whose tactics secured a famous victory. Unity and Resurgence. The last successful attempt by a Norman to play divide and conquer within the Thomond kingship was the case of Maurice Fitzgerald, Earl of Desmond. A very powerful man, he was constantly rumoured during his life to have wanted to make himself King of Ireland. He successfully sponsored Brian Ban O'Brien in overthrowing Diarmid from Clan Tuadhmhumhain during 1343 to 1350. But equally decisive was the sides taken by Mac Conmara, leading to Diarmid's restoration. With the exception of a failed Norman attempt to reconstruct Bunratty Castle by Thomas de Roteby from 1353 to 1355, the Norman settler colonialist project in Thomond was at an end until the submission of the O'Brien in the 16th century. The Norman lordship was weakened by the Bruce Wars of 1315 to 1318, the Black Death of 1349 to 1350, and besides that English forces were more invested with the 100 Years' War in France and their own internal conflict, the Wars of the Roses, to focus too much on Ireland. All of these factors allowed for a 15th-century Gaelic resurgence, not only in Thomond but across a significant part of Ireland outside of the Pale. Brian Ban was the last of Clan Brian Rua to hold the kingship, and from 1350 onwards, Clan Tuadhmhg held sway. Tuamhain O'Brien came to power before the death of his uncle Diarmid, and he was named as such because he spent time as a foster child in Manmagor. His succession was disputed by his uncle and brother, Tuadhmhumhain Maol O'Brien and Brian Streamhack O'Brien. Of the two, Brian Streamhack gained the upper hand, and when his uncle tried to enlist the help of the Earl of Desmond to wrestle back the realm, Brian thoroughly routed them at Croom in a key military success. This had the added benefit of winning back Limerick for Thomond, and Siodicam mac Conmara was placed in the city as a warden in 1369. The friendship with the de Burghs of Galway was maintained by Brian, and when Richard II was at Waterford in 1399, he paid nominal homage and was well received. Thomond was now in such a position that Conchobar mac Mathgamna O'Brien's 26-year reign was marked as a time of peace and plenty. The years 1426 to 1459 were marked by a succession of three sons of Brian Streamhack reigning: Tuadhmhg and Glamore O'Brien, Mathgarwan Dal O'Brien and Tuadhmhumhain Bog O'Brien. During this time, Mathgarwan Dal was deposed by his brother Tuadhmhumhain with the familiar military assistance of the de Burghs. Greater things were to come from the ascent of Tuadhmhumhain's son Tuadhmhg and Tuamhain O'Brien. From Inchiquin, Tuadhmhg took advantage of the Wars of the Roses, forming an alliance with the Oni Acutil in 1464. He managed to ride south through Desmond and enforce the CIO stove on the Anglo-Normans. This was a kind of Gaelic pizzo which Tad's great-grandfather Mathgarwan Maunwa had first been able to enforce as a price of protection. His military prowess was such that the Earl of Desmond was forced to give back to Thomond what would later become County Limerick. MacPherson hints that the men of Leinster planned to raise Tuadhmhumhain to the High Kingship of Ireland before his death, and claims he was the greatest O'Brien since Brian Borumair himself. Thomond was wealthy in the 15th century. Thomndhmhumhain was described as the richest man in Ireland in terms of livestock. During the reign of Conchobar Nas Rona O'Brien, Thomond maintained alliances with the Mac William Uachtar of Clanricarde and the Butlers. In the latter case, they were opposing the Kildare Fitzgeralds, earning the ire of Gerald Fitzgerald, Earl of Kildare, who had earned the favour of the new Tudor King Henry VII as Lord Deputy of Ireland. Despite Kildare's fearsome reputation, Conchobar met him in battle at Ballyhickey, near Quin, in 1496 and was successful in turning him back. Tuadhmhumhain O'Brien, as part of his pact with Ulick Finn took part in the Battle of Knockdee in 1504, along with the Mac Conmara and O'Brien against the Earl of Kildare, which they lost. The struggle had been started by a feud between de Burgh and Tuamhain. O'Brien later defeated Kildare at Moyne na Bratha, near Limerick. Thomond intended to support the Oeni against the O'Donnell in a northern feud, but by the time O'Brien arrived, it was over. Tuadhmhumhain's life came to an end trying to defend the O'Seaby of Isle from the Earl of Ormond at Camus, near Cashel. He died by the shot of a ball. Downfall of the realm. The downfall of Thomond occurred in the 16th century. The series of events leading up to it were set into process by the rebellion of Fitzgerald family member, the Earl of Kildare, Silken Thomas. In 1534, a rumour had spread that his father, the Lord Deputy of Ireland, has been executed in England on the orders of King Henry VIII, and that the same fate was planned for him and his uncles. Under this impression, Thomas threw off his offices in the Kingdom of Ireland and rose up in rebellion. He took refuge with the O'Seaby of Ireland, then with Conchobar Mac Tuadhmhumhain O'Brien at Clonroad, Ennis. In hot pursuit, at the head of an army, was Lord Leonard Grey, who destroyed the Killaloe Bridge, which had the result of isolating Thomond from the rest of Ireland, and also attacked the Dalgais east of the River Shannon. Although the Silken Thomas issue was resolved by late 1535, Thomond had marked itself out by providing refuge to enemies of the Crown of England in Ireland. The English forces had in turn enlisted the services of Conchobar's own son Donchard O'Brien, who had cemented an alliance with the Butler family by marrying the daughter of the Earl of Ormond. According to Butler, Donchard pledged to help them conquer Thomond, aid English colonisation, adopt English laws and help them take over Carrigogunal Castle. This castle was a symbol of Gaelic defiance, as it had remained out of Anglo-Norman hands for over 200 years. When the castle was attacked by Grey, it surrendered due to Donchard. With the loss of East Thomond and the destruction of O'Brien's Bridge, Thomond was in a lot of trouble. Conchobar, along with loyal supporters such as the Mac Conmara, continued to fight on and managed to conclude a truce with Grey in 1537. Conchobar was succeeded on his death by his brother Murchard Carrick O'Brien, a man who initially attempted to assist Con Bacacho Eni Acutil in the defence of Tuamhain, but had come to see the futility of his opposition and agreed to surrender and re-grant to the Tudor state. The Parliament of the Kingdom of Ireland was called to Limerick in 1542 by Lord Deputy Anthony Street. Ledger regarding the terms of submission of Murchard Carrick O'Brien and Syode Mac Conmara, becoming members of the Peerage of Ireland and converting to the Anglican Church. Murchard was made Earl of Thomond and Donchard also Barony Bracken. Descent took place in the form of Donchard's brother Domhnall O'Brien, who claimed to have been inaugurated chief of the O'Brien according to the Gaelic fashion in 1553. This was in opposition to his nephew the Earl, Conchobar Groiblich O'Brien. Tied into English political rivalries, Conchobar had the support of the Earl of Sussex, but was not able to decisively defeat his uncle. Indeed, Domhnall scored a victory at the Battle of Spansel Hill in 1559. The The discord dragged on, and Thomond was under the martial law of William Drury as late as 1577. The issues pertaining to tax and land were finalised at the composition of Thomond in 1585. Diocese of Killaloe. The religion which predominated at an official level in Thomond was Catholic Christianity. The territory of Thomond was associated with the Diocese of Killaloe under the Bishop of Killaloe, which had been formed in 1111 at the Synod of Rath-Bresale, 7 years before Thomond broke fully from the Kingdom of Munster. Dalgcai's influence over the Bishop of Limerick differed from time to time, with Norman influence also being part of the picture. At the Synod of Kells in 1152, 3 more sees in Thomond were created in the form of the Diocese of Kilfenora, the Diocese of Roscrea and the Diocese of Scattery Island. Roscrea was re-merged with Killaloe in 1168 and Scattery Island followed in 1189. The latter was recreated briefly during the 14th century before once again being merged back with Killaloe. Some of the bishops of Killaloe attended ecumenical councils of the Catholic Church in Rome. This includes Constantine O'Brien, who participated in the Third Lateran Council, and Conchobar O'Hara, who was at the Fourth Lateran Council. Religious orders were present in Thomond and had establishments founded by them under the patronage of kings of Thomond. This includes the Canons Regular of the Augustinians at Cannon Island Abbey, Clare Abbey, Inchicronan Priory, Killone Abbey and Limerick Priory. The Cistercians at Holy Cross Abbey, Corcomroe Abbey, Kilcooley Abbey and Monastranina Abbey, the Franciscans at Ennis Abbey, Galbally Friary and Quin Abbey, and the Dominicans at Limerick Blackfriars. There were also many monasteries which predated Thomond, such as Innissealtra Monastery, Scattery Island Monastery, and Dusserthodia Monastery. Both St. Flannan's Cathedral in Killaloe and St. Mary's Cathedral in Limerick can be traced to Domhnall Mór O'Brien. Monarchs.